Give me one hell of a stink eye right now, furious that this is how I started her eulogy. My mom knew she was strong enough for all of us. She was steadfastly confident in herself, and she was bolstered with an unwavering faith. Now, this all sounds amazing, but when one of the people you love most in the world is suffering, you desperately want to know more, to help, and to be involved. We fought against her privacy, but she held strong, letting us in here or there when she felt it necessary. We learned to trust her and to have faith. We never spoke of cancer, chemo, prognosis, or outcomes. She was simply our mother, our Grandma Sue, our Susie my Susie, our Sue Boo, and our Susan. Our time with her was all about living. Love, laughter, and good times. We lived like we had all the time in the world because we felt like we had it. And that was her ultimate gift. Mom was born in Green Bay, Wisconsin to Richard and Jean Dennis, the second of 10 kids. Patty, Chris, Mark, Janine, John, Marilyn, Paul, Steve, and Jan. Once when I asked my mom what it was like growing up with so many brothers and sisters, she said, I went to school, I watched kids, and I peeled potatoes for dinner. When they played Mouseketeers, Mom was Darlene to Patty's Annette and Chris's Karen. To my Uncle Mark, she was simply the best of us. My Aunt Janine tells a story of riding in the back seat of a car when she was 11. My mom, then 18, was driving. She remembered the windows were down, her red hair blowing in the wind when the song I Can't Get No Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones came on the radio. And as Janine tells it, my mom exclaimed that it was her absolute favorite song, turned the radio all the way up, and sang it at the top of her voice. Janine said she was mesmerized by her carefree attitude, and as she watched her, she realized that being young, alive, and just a little rebellious was a good thing. She said Mom was one who did it her own way. She relished life and always lived life on her own terms. Uncle John has always been after fun as much as Mom, and we were thrilled when he persuaded her to cruise with him from Green Bay to Mackinac Island for a week. It was during this trip that she admitted, when her time came, she was looking forward to spending time in purgatory, because it would be there she would find all the people who really knew how to have a good time. My Aunt Marilyn was her co-conspirator and a real best friend, making the trip between Boulder and Omaha seem like merely a detail. It was Marilyn that started calling her Susie my Susie, and it was Mary that showed up at the hospital, knowing the do not visit rule didn't apply to her. Marilyn was the yin to my mom's yang. She was all kisses and love you tons. And we love her for it. My Uncle Paul said he could never begin to thank her for the 100 million things she did for her little baby brother. And since she was off to college when Steve and Jane were young, she became a bit of a mother figure, often co-parenting with my Uncle Mark during summers at the cottage when Grandma and Grandpa were busy working in Green Bay. But that they always appreciated the deluxe lollipops she would buy for them, even if they ended up broken in the back seat of the family station wagon. Now, despite all the fun and potato peeling, Mother took college as an opportunity to spread her wings, and that flight took her here to Creighton University. It was in Gallagher Hall where Mom met some girls who would turn out to be her friends for life. Kate, Kathy, Karen, Janie, and Jean. Kate tells a story of how Mom was always getting in trouble with the nuns in their dorm, as it was required that they wear a robe and slippers anytime they were outside of their rooms. Instead of following the rules, Mom would make runs to the bubbler in her socks and an oversized Green Bay Packers t-shirt, sliding into her room with the nuns yelling after her. Mom's friendship with these ladies are woven into the fabric of our childhoods. Their children became our good friends, and they took to swapping us kids about as a method of childcare. My dad said there was a term for it. When he would come home to find us kids a little more exhausted than usual, my mom would say it was a Johnny day, meaning the 4 Kavanaugh boys had been over, and my dad would immediately understand. Similarly, when I started to think about potty training my boys, I naturally turned to my mother for advice. She quite frankly admitted she had no idea. I just sent them over to Kavanaugh's for the weekend and they were potty trained. I loved watching my mom with her friends, laughing, blushing, rolling her eyes, and of course complaining. It was this unedited version of her that I appreciated the most, when she wasn't a mom and instead was just a girl with her friends, carefree, bright, and fun. It was also at Creighton that my mom met my dad. They had been introduced on campus, but it was a ski trip to Colorado that really brought them together. Growing up, I always knew this was the general story, but when her friends revealed that they met over a game of strip poker, I decided I needed some more detail. When pressed, my dad admitted that he and a buddy drove out on a lark after finishing first semester exams, but they didn't have a place to stay, proper ski clothes, or actually know how to ski, but that they figured it all out as they went. My mom was on a school-sponsored and chaperoned trip. So as my dad was trying his best to stay upright, my mom, who was a very good skier, whizzed by with her perfect form and fluid grace, catching that young man's eye. At the end of the day, my dad found this group of ladies, and over some drinks, somehow negotiated to sneak into and sleep on the floor of the girls' place after Father Holbrook had turned in for the night. He never confessed if there was the aforementioned poker game, and maybe that's okay, because as they say, the rest is history. Their 50th wedding anniversary is this August. As young children, we did not see much of this footloose and fancy-free woman described to us by so many, but rather she was the type that said little and carried a big stick. Ask each of us who our mother was to us, or better, what she meant to us, and you would undoubtedly get 5 different answers. So I will not try to speak for my siblings, Jennifer, Kathleen, Jane, or Mark John, on a personal level, but there are certain undisputed truths on which we all agree. She was forever patient. She always let us chart our own course. She was our biggest cheerleader, and Mark John was totally spoiled. We spent our summers up at the cottage with my grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins, water skiing, fishing, sailing on the Hobie Cat, playing cards, and taking trips to the Big Rock. The cottage created a lifetime of family memories, and I cherish every one she gave us and look forward to building similar memories with my own family. What the cottage was to us in the summer is what ski trips meant to us in the winter. Whether these trips were quick weekends away or big week-long adventures when we invited other families to join us, they all resonated the same. There was fun, there was family, and there was a lot of mischief. Now my mom, as I mentioned before, was a very good skier, but one year, on one very icy run, a legend was born, and she henceforth became known only as the Purple Flash. There once was a Purple Flash, who on a ski hill did crash. First it was MJ, then Jess was in the way. If you see her, dash, it is the Purple Flash. We skied in shorts, we instituted this 3-second rule, and we all loved a good après ski after a long day on the mountain. With Jennifer and Kathleen both in college, Mom decided it was time for her to finish what she had started. Her pursuit of the nursing degree from Creighton was interrupted when she married Dad and started a family. So she went back to school, and in 1989 she earned her bachelor's degree from the University of Nebraska at Omaha with a certification of specialization in gerontology. She went to work caring for patients at Allegiant Health McCauley Center and the Montclair Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. While she really enjoyed this pursuit, her favorite job was the 10 years she spent at Boys Town as a tour guide and working in the visitor center. It is important to also mention that she begrudgingly enjoyed the position she held as the not-so-silent partner at Edmar Farms, the family farm near Imogene, Iowa. She once said to me that that farm was her winter home in Florida, so she better enjoy it. She and my dad spent a lot of time working to update my Grandma Helen's house to make it their own, and she spent many days enjoying the Grant wood-like view while absorbing the sunshine from the front room of that farmhouse. But the real feather in my mother's cap was her job as Grandma Sue, and no one did it better. When her grandchildren were babies, she would spend hours cooing, snuggling, swaddling, feeding, and just loving them up in a way I had never seen. She was the epitome of pure love and devotion, and I relied on her constantly. Throughout my life, she went from a mommy to a mom to a sometime adversary to a safe harbor in the storm to a best friend, and ultimately to a soulmate as it was only when I became a mom that I got it. I understood and appreciated the decisions and sacrifices she made throughout our lives, and it was all I could do from that point on to thank her, show intense gratitude, and apologize for everything. She went from the mom that spoke little and carried a big stick to the grandma that was very generous with her love and threw the stick out the window. Grandma Sue had her own set of rules, aptly named Grandma Sue rules, whereby the grandkids could eat whatever sugary snacks they wanted. She called these nookies and tookies. Bedtimes were loosely regarded, and there was no limit to the amount of time one could spend snuggling on a couch. She had a way of making each grandchild feel very special, from bugs to Minecraft, from leopard gloves to sleepovers at Grandma Sue's. She knew them all so well, and they loved her for it. Like I said when I started, Mom was diagnosed in 2006. But what I didn't mention is that the diagnosis was just shy of stage 4. Now, stage 4 felt very scary to all of us, even to Mom, but she never let it change the way she wanted to live her life. Since 2006, she saw 3 children get married, met 6 new grandchildren, traveled annually to Wisconsin and Colorado, made trips to Florida, Portugal, a road trip to Maryland, and a cruise to Mackinac Island. And she adored her annual girls' trips to Lake Geneva. In her last weeks, Mom made a trip to Green Bay to visit family and to Colorado to visit her newest grandchild, Peter Eugene Laughlin. She was not feeling 100%, but these trips were absolutely mandatory to her, and she would not be dissuaded by practicality. She continued to demonstrate that same joie de vivre and devil-may-care attitude as she had throughout her life. We are all heartbroken that she's not here with us today, but rest assured that no one is more at peace with his fate than my mom. She was grateful for the extra 11 years she lived past her diagnosis, and joyful for the 70 years she was able to live the life she wanted. She had no regrets. She did not want it to be her time, but she had enough faith to trust that the party on the other side would be just as good. We saw her home, where she peacefully said her goodbye, saying only, "It is what it is." After a couple days after her passing, my dad found a Hunter S. Thompson quote scribbled in her own hand of what had clearly become her life's goal, and may her achievement here provide some balm to the ragged edges of our souls. Life is not a journey to the grave with the intent of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skip in broadside, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, "Wow, what a ride." You did it, Mom. We love and miss you. Until we meet again, some sunny day. Thank you.
We have a nice handout.